Welcome back to Briggs on Books, the international talk show. We've been talking to people from all over the world over the last couple of weeks. It's really exciting, though, when we get somebody from our own backyard, somebody from Fresno, California, on our show who has written books and not just written them, but actually got them published and out there. Janie J., welcome.
Hi, thank you. Nice to see you again, Mike.
We call you an author and spirit
medium.
Spirit medium.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
A spirit medium, my definition is that someone that can connect to others in a different dimension, other souls in a different dimension. In other words, perhaps it's someone from your family who's passed away, or it could be someone famous, or it could be like an archangel, or Mary, or Jesus, or something like that. Now,
I told you when you came in that I was so blown away, moved by your last time you were here, and I'm glad you're back so I could ask you more questions about that. In fact, you told me that maybe you didn't totally write these books, but somebody helped you.
Right. So what happened to me is when I had a spiritual awakening, I had basically been a spiritually starved workaholic. I worked in real estate for a number of years, and I was finally able to relax and so forth, and I could hear voices, and I learned, at first I thought I was crazy, but spiritually, I had a spiritual friend, and she said, no, those are your spirit guides. And so I got into the practice of talking to them and getting guidance and trying to figure out life, basically. And they said that they were going to, that archangels were going to start transcribing books to me, and that I should get a pen and paper ready.
Get ready.
And I'm like, okay. And so I went to the office depot and got the nicest pens and fanciest books, writing materials I could find. And sure enough, they started waking me up in the middle of the night. And
oh my!
And even though I had already written 3
middle
books,
of the night.
Yeah, they started waking me up like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I would do 1 or 2, maybe more chapters once I got the hang of it. But they really did wake me up, and I was so tired. I'd go back to sleep, and I'd wake up in the morning, and I would remember that I had done that, but I didn't have a clue what I wrote. So then I would read it, and I'd go, oh my, this sounds pretty good. There must be something to this, because I'm not this smart.
Right.
And then I started going, well, is this normal? Can other people do this? So I searched online and found that, in fact, there are other cases of this. People can look it up online. And it's quite common, and they wake you up like usually about 3 in the morning.
Right.
So that's what happened to me. And to be honest, it's a much easier way to write a book than having to come up with it yourself.
Now, you had written other books on what kind of subjects?
The first books I wrote were in a series called Live Your Best Life with Janie J. And those books were designed for women over 50 who were at a crossroads and wanted to reinvent their life or learn how to live their best life. And I wrote that as a result of becoming divorced when I was 60. And I knew my life sucked. I didn't want to live the rest of it like that. So I started searching for answers. And that's when the beginning part of my spiritual journey started, because I actually spent time for myself, and I learned to be quiet and listen, because we can't learn how to connect to God or anything unless we learn how to quiet our mind and start listening instead of talking.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that exact question. Is it because you'd retired and your mind was probably always going a million miles an hour? Was it because you were kind of putting that other life behind you? Do you think that your mind could finally relax and open up?
No, it was the opposite. My mind was going so crazy, and I knew it wasn't sustainable.
Okay.
Like my mom said, you're going to have a heart attack. You got to do something. So I learned to relax first, and then finally I said, I've got a mission. I was told I have a mission to do these 3 books called the New I Am Document, Volume 1, 2, and 3. And so I tried to work as a real estate broker at the same time for over a year, and basically doing what most of us do is chasing the almighty dollar, saying I'll do the book later, I'll do it later, but I didn't have enough focused effort. So I finally just said, God wants me to do this. It's going to cost a lot of money. I'm going to let God worry about the money. and I just let it go, and it's been great. And it's really amazing to let it go and not have to worry about money like
Yep.
I used to.
Now,
And
do you
I've gotten
have
the books.
skeptics? Are people rolling
Yes.
their eyes when you're saying this and like, oh boy, did you hear about?
Right. Well, I totally get that because I used to be like that. I would say, first of all, you can look online, and there are many other people that do this. Some that come to mind are Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote Conversations with God, and I've seen him in person at talks, and he basically hit a low point, and then he kept, like, he was screaming at God, like, there's got to be more than this, and then his messages came. And then when I got my first download of the new I Am document, I was told the name of it, and they told me to put the word new in it, the new I Am
New.
document. And I thought, well, why are they saying new? So I Googled it, and there was a guy named Guy Ballard, and he used a different name, a pen name, a little bit different name. It's like 3 syllables. Godfrey Ray King, and he wrote books called the I Am Discourses. And I'd never heard of that guy, and so I'm like, well, this all makes sense because they told me to call it the new, and he was in the 30s. So there are other people that do this. So
By the way, I've interviewed other people who've done it. So yes,
good,
it happens.
good.
This happens.
Yeah, it happens. It's not like in your everyday circles. Some people that grow up in a more open household, they may have heard of these sorts of things, but I'd say the majority of people don't. But I believe anybody can do it because we are
Wow.
all truly connected. I mean, if you think about things like mental telepathy, being able to talk to beings in another dimension in the spirit realm, it's basically mental telepathy, but you're going through dimensions. And I know it sounds wacky, but I think anybody can do it because we are all connected. Because we all come from the same source, we all come from God or whoever you call your higher power. And there's studies on this stuff. It's called quantum physics that leads into a lot of this. But if you want an easy way to learn to do it, to connect to other beings and get some guidance, whether it's your spirit guides or your deceased grandfather or Albert Einstein, and you want to find out something along those lines, I would say if someone goes to my website, www.thenewIammovement.com, there is
As I say, we have it on the screen there. So
on the front page, there's it's called Connect to Transform Process, and people can sign up, and they will get an email that leads them through the process, and it's very easy. It doesn't hurt. It's not time consuming. The only thing is, just like anything, you get better with practice. So if you make it a practice, and the biggest part of it that most humans aren't doing is learning to relax, especially people in the United States, because we're used to the go-go mentality. But if you learn how to relax and listen, you can let in a wealth of information. I mean, I'm talking, you can find out anything. I remember one time having a discussion in the morning, my quiet time, with my spirit guides, and I made some kind of offhand comment like about tapping into this realm. I call it all that is. Some people call it the quantum field, but whatever. It's all the information that ever was, is now, and will be in the future. And I said, well, this is like a giant Google. And they said, exactly, that's what it is. So wouldn't that be cool?
I want to ask you in a minute about the website and memberships and things, but I want to finish up on the books.
Okay.
The books you say that you downloaded.
Right.
Is that one book?
No, there's going to be 3.
There's going to be 3.
3 volumes. The first one came out over a year ago.
Okay.
The second volume has been transcribed. I spent over a year transcribing it. I've been traveling a lot, so I don't work on it as diligently as I could. But the second volume's been written.
Okay.
It has to go through the editing, publication process. So it should be coming out next year.
Which one is this that's on the screen here?
That's it. That's the new I Am document, Volume 1.
Volume 1, okay.
Right.
And it's coming out or out?
That book is already out, and it's
Okay.
available on Amazon.
And then this one?
That book, actually, I wrote it after the I Am document, but I released it first.
Okay.
And the reason is because, just like you said, people are going to read this book and it says this book was transcribed from Ascended Masters. Yeah, right. And people are going to be skeptical, and they're going to wonder, or at least that's what I was concerned about. People would wonder, well, how could she do this? And like, this sounds too wacky and that kind of thing. So I wrote the book, The Unimagined Awakening, to explain my own personal spiritual journey. I call it coming out of the spiritual closet, because I was afraid to tell people that I could talk to dead people, that I could talk to angels, or that I could get all this information. But I wrote that book to explain how determined I was and why I was so determined, and kind of the struggles I went through accepting it. Like, I was really afraid to tell, especially my family members, because nobody in our family talks about or does any of this stuff. And I thought, well, for sure they're going to have me committed, and then what? And I was afraid to tell any friends because, like I said, I only had one friend that was spiritual. So it was, it was shocking. At first I thought, am I just crazy?
Oh, Ignite, what is that?
Okay, so the book, the Ignite Your Adventurous Spirit, that was actually my first spiritual book. That was when I came out of the closet. And that book, I wrote one chapter with 30 other international authors. And I wrote just one chapter about a trip to Egypt with my son in 2018. And at that time, I was connecting to spirits in other realms and family members that had passed and things like that. But I was like, still a little bit doubtful. And I thought, well,
doubted yourself?
Yes. And I thought, well, I'm going to go on this trip to Egypt, and I'm going to prove to myself either I can do it or I can't. Of course, my son had no idea that's what I was doing until the book came out. But so I did that, and it was quite scary for me to not only going through it and learning to talk to famous Egyptian people that I really didn't know that much about, and getting the messages they had, and then having to acknowledge it, that I could do it, and then writing the book with the other 30 authors. And when the book launched, we had a book launch in California, and people came from the other authors all over, and we had to stand up in front of everybody and tell them what it was about. Now, I thought when I signed up for this, I was just going to write this book, and I was going to come out of the closet, but it was going to be like hidden away, and nobody I knew would ever see it.
A little piece of a larger work.
Yes, and I'd never, like, what's the chances of anybody I know seeing it? Like, it'll be okay. But it wasn't like that, because I had to get up in front of everybody and tell them, and I was afraid to do that, but I did it. And then after that happened, it was very interesting, because some of the people at the event came and told me that they did the same thing, and they just didn't know, or they were afraid to tell people. Even one lady said, "Oh, I do that all the time, but with animals," and I was like, "Wow." So but it was scary at first. But those are my 3 spiritual books so far.
Now tell me about the website, memberships, stuff like that.
Okay, the website.
Because if anybody's out there watching, they want to know more. They want to.
Right. The best thing to do would be to go to the website, the www.thenewIammovement.com.
I am movement.
And it's movement.com, and they can find out about the Connect to Transform process. They can read blogs, and there's lots of poems in there that I've downloaded, mostly downloaded, but some I've actually written. So can you imagine getting, sitting in your quiet time and you get a poem and it's like 4 pages long?
Oh my goodness.
Like, I'm not that smart. I can't write a poem that much and still have it sound right. And there's a lot of videos that I've made. And also I did a 20-minute documentary for Amazon Prime, and it's on there. That explains about mediumship and how I came to do this. And then for people that don't want to look around at a website, but they just like to go to YouTube, I would say visit Janie J. Soul Connector on YouTube. And the videos are there.
Would the website tell you how to get to the YouTube?
I don't believe so.
Okay, we're
It's-
just showing a
it's-
lot of things, and we have that website on the screen.
Right.
Go there, or go to Janie J. Soul Collector on YouTube.
Connector, Soul Connector.
Soul
It's
Connector.
on the business card that you had up earlier.
Okay,
at
very,
the very
good.
beginning.
Oh yeah, we'll put that up at the very end too. So
Yeah.
get your pen and paper ready. We have 2 or 3 minutes left. What else do you want our viewers to know?
I want them to know that anybody can do this, and it's really, it's everybody's mission, whether they know it or not. I know, and I've been told that my mission is to help uplift the consciousness of humanity. But in actuality, it's everybody's job to do the best they can. Our Creator wants us to do the best that we can. We do not have to be perfect, and it's also our duty or obligation to be the best we can for others, not just ourselves, but for others.
Okay.
And then also because it's our responsibility, and it's a promise that we all made to God before we came here.
Before we came
There's
here.
a lot more to life than what
Yes.
meets the eye.
Well, I say for our viewers, start at the website. You got to get these books first of all. Go to the website and find out how.
Right. There's a store on the website that you can find it.
And while I have the website on the screen, I can't see that far, Jane. So
Well,
please
they
say it
can go
again for
to,
us.
the website is www.thenewiammovement.com. And then the books are also all available on Amazon.com.
On Amazon.
So
Okay,
you look
very
up
good.
Janie
Yeah.
Jerkovich.
In fact, if you're watching this video and it's not almost 3 p.m. on a Tuesday, you're watching the replay. Right below the replay, there's a link. You can just click and order the book. How's that?
Right,
We're
right.
putting that link up there for you. Janie, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you
on
for
the show.
having me.
You're fascinating. I'm going to read the books. I told you that last time, but this time I'm really, really going to get the books and read the books. We'll be back with more Briggs on Books right after this.